Warning, the terrifying tales you're about to hear are not for the faint of heart. Each person who dares to share their story has lived to tell the tale, but the horrors they've faced will haunt them forever. What you're about to experience is a journey into the darkest depths of reality, where the lines between truth and terror are blurred. Every word, every scream, every nightmare is based on true events that have left an indelible mark on those who survived. Proceed with caution, but know that once you've entered this realm of unrelenting fear, there's no turning back.
How you doing? My name is Rudy Renero. I'm from Lansing, Michigan, and I'm here to tell you my paranormal stories. My first paranormal experience all started when I was about 5 to 6 years old. This was the very first that I could possibly remember. And at that time, we were going through some hard times as kids, but the house that we lived in was in Texas. I think at that time was Amarillo, Texas. And living there at the time was pretty crazy. It wasn't nice. I mean, there was good moments, but a lot more bad moments. So every night I would go to bed and I would hear somebody walking in the hallways down to our room. And at like clockwork, every time in the morning, like around 12 o'clock, there's a woman walking into my room. She looks Caucasian, and she walks literally right past my bed and straight to the window. So she was looking out the window, and that's it. She would just stare out the window for a little bit, and then she would turn around and look at me, and then I'll get too scared and just get up and go and run to my mom's room. And my mom and dad would be laying in bed, but they would never want me in the room. So they would kick me out of the room. So I had to go back to my room. And again, I'll go back in my room, and there she goes, she's still standing there in the room, looking out the window. And from what I can remember, she had maybe shoulder length hair. She was older for sure. I can't remember exactly what she was wearing with clothes, but it was, I don't see people like, they're all white. I've never seen it like that, like I see people like, I see the color, I see everything, but my thing was as a kid, I was so drawn to her face and her hair. Like when she looked at me, I could just remember her. I still remember her face to this day. But that's when it all started. Later, as I start to grow, and life is a little difficult again, because we were going through foster care. Life didn't treat us so well, right? So a lot of people might come back and say, well, isn't it mental health has anything to do with you seeing these ghosts? And I wish I could say that, but by the end of the story, you can kind of understand like where that's going, because I cannot get that from my past life struggles, because some of the stuff that I went through were pretty physical, But as I started growing up as a child, we eventually had to leave our family's house, and going through foster care, we were moving from different families until eventually our family will come in to take us. And we end up moving into a lady's house. She was really sweet, really nice lady. And most of my time there was just having nightmares and terrors, like nightmares and night terrors, you know what I mean? And that's how that started progressing. I would have a lot of nightmares, and I'll see a lot of shadows and stuff like that. That's always been something that I've always seen as a kid. And also noting that I've been abused a lot as a child as well. So, maybe with all that abuse and negative, that's what could attract it to me. But as a child, I'm not thinking negative. I just want to make people happy. So I did have a lot of nightmares, and there'll be shadow people and things like that happening, or I'll have nightmares of people talking to me in my dreams and stuff like that, but nothing like too crazy. Again, during that time, there'd be real subtle things. And then my aunt adopted me, and that's when my life completely changed, like 360. So my aunt came in during the foster care moment, and she would come visit us at least once a month. I think it was once a month, because my grandma would come and my aunt would come, and they'll all come visit. And I remember she was telling me, like, do you want to stay with us? And I'm not sure. Again, I was so young, so I wasn't sure how the process went. I just knew it felt better because they were family. So we end up, during that time, I don't know how long, how much, if it was months or years, but during the time of waiting, eventually my aunt did do something, and then paperwork went through and we get adopted from her. So it first started off with just visitation, and then we got adopted by her. And then we moved in with her, physically moved in with her. And at that time, I'm like, again, I'm a child, so I didn't quite understand, like, all these moving. I was moving, never had a place to stay physically. So I was assuming that eventually I'll move out of this house too. Something will go bad and then I'll have to move. But I remember the first night we moved into that house, everything seemed fine. Now, this house that we moved in was in Lansing, Michigan, and didn't feel bad. Felt like a really nice area. Things seemed to be working out pretty good. Brothers were happy. I had 2 other brothers that were with me during this time. And so weeks go by, months go by, years go by. Still, things seem to be cool. But then as we really start to grow up and settle in this house, things start getting weird. And I'll give you an example. So we had the basement that had weird activity. We've had, and I'm gonna walk you through all this, right? But I'm just kind of throwing it out there. And then we had somebody that would, like, say shh in the hallways, or turn off the light. Like, if I was in the attic, they'll turn off the light. I would hear shh, and then the light would turn off. And I remember I didn't believe, my sisters would always tell me, like, we hear it, they talked about it, but I never seen it. Like, I never had it really happen. But I did know every time I go near the stairs, when you look up, it always felt like there was somebody there, but you just couldn't see them. And every night it was always scary to kind of like be out at night. So everybody made sure they stayed in bed. And once the things started happening to me and my brothers, that's when we started, like, not liking it, you know? But it was really nothing we can do because everybody had to live with it, you know? And I remember one time me and my brothers were being stupid and having fun playing around, and we would hear, like, down, you know how, like, when a room echoes, we hear shh, and then it would echo through the house because it's like not a lot of furniture maybe or something, I don't know. And sure enough, we're like looking around like, who did that? And we're looking around, there's nobody. And then I look up the stairs, I'm telling you, it's the most weirdest thing, but it felt like you could feel like somebody's staring at you, but you just can't point your finger at it. And I remember Mom always telling me that they did see somebody at the end of the stairs, on the top of the stairs. So that being said, as kids, we still brushed it off like it wasn't really nothing. We're not seeing nothing, and nothing else really happened. But I was starting to get a little older, and it was about time for me to have my own room. So I remember my mom, she gave me the attic, which was finished, had carpet. And as I was sleeping up there, I remember that I think it was the first night got everything set, had bought a radio. I was able to listen to the radio station, and it had a CD player, so I was all extra like, it's all cool, you know. And as I'm relaxing, I put on some Tupac, and I was listening to Tupac, and I hear shh, and I started looking around like, what the hell? So I thought the kids were downstairs, because normally the kids like to mess with us, you know, or it'd be like my little cousins or somebody likes to mess around. There'd be one bad apple in there in the house. So I go downstairs. I looked in the room, my mom's room, my brother's room, or the girl's room. Go downstairs. Nobody in the house, and there's nobody. I'm actually the only person in the house. So I'm like, the hell? So I go back upstairs, and this time I know that there's nobody in the house. So I turn the radio all the way up so I don't have to hear it. And as I'm blazing the music, the power shuts off. My light got turned off. I hear the click. You know how the heavy switch? The light turns off. But what was weird is that my radio turned off, and it's not tied into the outlet, so it made no sense, right? That's what made me assume that the power got turned off. I go back downstairs, I turn it back on, I turn back on my radio, I put on something different, and then again it turns off. I ran downstairs so fast. I remember staying in the living room and waiting for my mom and my brother-in-laws to come back home. And I never really said anything to nobody. It was just like, I don't think anybody would have believed me, you know? Down the road, eventually we started to have a bigger family. And with my sisters getting older, the brothers are getting older, we needed more room. So my father ended up buying a bigger house. But coincidentally, the house was in front of our house. It was like across the street. And it was like known. That house was known for being haunted, but nobody really had like a true story. It was just something that it looks haunted, so everybody just basically would say it's haunted. And I remember the first night they bought the house. There's a process. So after the house got bought, we didn't really go in. I think the people cleaned up the house. After they cleaned it, they left. We knew the people. We knew the people that lived there, but they were kind of like different themselves. But we never like questioned that, you know? Well, I remember my mom was asking me, my brother-in-law, my real brother and my brother-in-law, and a friend of ours that lived down the road, because we all like always hung out outside. We were always just having a good time. And I remember my mom said, well, the first day I want y'all to break the house in, so I want y'all to stay a night alone, which I don't know why. I don't know where this came, like where it came, right? But she wanted us to stay there. So me, my brother-in-law, my friend, my brother, we put a TV inside. I remember putting it on the floor, and we were watching TV. There's nothing in the dining room. There's nothing upstairs. There's nothing in the basement. It's completely empty. We didn't have nothing in the house. We plugged everything up just to see how the house was. And that night was very, very weird, because I remember as everybody was going to sleep, I kept on hearing footsteps. But like it was like one of those footsteps where someone's trying to be sneaky and they're slowly moving. So you don't hear the footstep, but you hear the creaking. So I look, and as you look up the stairs, they have these wooden beams that go down. Basically, you can see through them, but it's weird how it's set up. It's just a divider so no one falls over. And as I look, I don't know if you ever had this happen to you, but like, have you ever had on the side of your eye where you see a shadow? And you're like, you thought you seen a shadow, or you thought you seen something? I thought I seen a little girl. And I looked, but there's nothing. And I'm like, man, what the heck's going on here? Well, my brother-in-law happened to wake up at a specific time. I think it was like 3 in the morning. And he kept on saying, Rudy, look in the dining room. Do you see that? And I think my buddy Junior was there too. He was up too at that time. And I looked, and I shit you not, I see 2 red glowing eyes standing in the dining room. Right? When I seen it, I couldn't believe it at first. I'm like, am I seeing what I'm seeing? I got scared, but it made me feel better that I was with my buddy and Big Tony, my brother-in-law at the time, that he was there watching over us. They were scared too, and they wanted to leave, but I mean, that's right next to the door. So you're like, nobody's moving. And to be honest with you, I think we were too scared to even talk about it, that we never even said anything to my mom about it. Maybe they did down the road. That was my very first experience in the new house that we bought. After that, I knew moving into the house was going to be difficult. I just didn't know how difficult. So it felt like things were going to get better. But I had a personal issue. I had PTSD. So I was also going through my own mental health breakdown. So I had PTSD. As a child, I went through a lot of abuse, emotional abuse, and a loss, anxiety of loss. So I was also trying to develop as a teenager, but also trying to deal with this traumatic event that happened to me in my past. And when this type of stuff happens, it triggered my anxiety. It was the weirdest thing. And I left it alone. I wouldn't even make it a big deal. A lot of little things would happen, but never really made it a big deal. But what's crazy was everybody had these experiences. The very first experience that everybody had dealt with was the little girl. And we always wondered why there was a little girl. Well, our neighbor who lived there way before we did, and before my aunt and uncle, he would explain to us that there was a little girl around 11 years old who had passed away in the living room. She had cancer or something in the way, maybe not in the living room, maybe they took her to the hospital and she died, but she had cancer. And so they didn't want her doing too much, so they had built like this mini bathroom in the dining room, our dining room. So if you walk into the dining room, there's like a mini bathroom right there. I could be wrong. It could have been because something else, but there was a bathroom, so we just assumed that. But she had passed there, and when he said that, it like really hit us hard, because we're like, whoa, we're seeing, everybody is seeing a little girl, and they're hearing this little girl. At that time, we're kids, being a kid, times fly by. You're doing things, you're running outside, you're trying to be a child and not worry about the things around you. With this house, you almost couldn't run away from it. And it always seemed to always have an effect on me and my brothers, a little bit on the girls and my mom, but more on the boys, which was us. And I remember my first real experience when it got scary. We all slept in the same room. Me and my brothers did. And I remember particularly, my mom and dad bought a bed. This is the rumor. They got it for a good deal. And the bed, I think, came from a prison or a jail. But I think it was a prison, because it was all metal. But don't quote me on that. Like, not sure exactly, but I swear that's what I remember hearing them say. So it was all metal, and it was a weird bed. I'm not trying to tie it to that, but it was just weird. And we all slept. We had like 3 bedrooms, or 1 bedroom, but 3 boys sleeping in the room. And every night, I would see this shadow man. And I remember when I first started to see him, he really got strong. Like, I would say a little around the time of me being 11. For some reason, like, I would see him standing in the corner. He would never move. I could see this real dark shadow figure of a man standing there. And I would look at it like I'm fucking seeing shit. I'm just, you know how you could make up things in your head and you just assume it? But it really messed with me after watching him move. I'll watch him walk to the left, walk to the closer to me. Then I'll watch him go to the roof and move around in the roof, on the ceiling, I mean, in just weird ways. And I'm like, what am I looking at? I see a darker image in the shadow moving around, and I'm watching it. It scared the shit out of me, but I never really got that scared. Again, once you deal with it so many times, it becomes normal. Until we would hear it breathe. Now we hear this man breathing in the room. I felt very uncomfortable. And I remember there was a lot of times where I would tell my mom something, and at that time as a child, you know, growing up, because of all my traumatic life moments and this and that, like I was into like rock and roll music, so I would listen to Marilyn Manson, Rob Zombie, and, you know, music in that nature. And sure enough, my mom would be like, well, that's because you listen to that devil worshiping music. And I was trying, like, I couldn't run away from it. Like, no matter what I said, it always ended up with, I was into that, so that's what caused this to happen. So, again, we'll blow it away like it never happened. Well, I had an incident. There was a time, now this is going to be one of my scary moments where it really hit me, when I noticed that this is serious. But during this moment, when I was 11, going on 12, I had this serious moment occur where things just got crazier for me. And at that time, I used to be bullied. And like, I'm naturally good at fighting. Me and my brother's always been naturally good at fighting, but we've always gotten in trouble as well. And every time, like, it didn't matter what we did, it always got us in trouble. And I always tried to walk away from all the fights, or any type of little fight that almost did happen. I try to walk away from it because I'm like, I already know I'm gonna have to go home and deal with it with my mom, and I'm not trying to deal with that. I'm just tired of, remember, I had traumatic issues with people yelling at me. I had anxiety, so it was, the last thing I want to do is cause it on myself. So I tried to like walk away from it. But there was this one particular moment where I had a group of guys that were bullies, and they knew I wouldn't do anything, but they would act upon it and do little stupid shit. And I remember I went to school, and I remember having to be in the gym, and at this time I had like a really good shirt that I really liked that I got from a store. And I was proud. I was like, one of those days where, I don't know if you ever bought anything, but like, it was one of those days where I'm like proud to have this shirt because I knew the album's coming out. It was just one of them feelings that it was a good feeling. I'm like, all right, cool. Brand new. I'm the first one to probably have it, probably. I don't know. You know, I just felt like that. Well, as I'm in the gym getting ready, I put my shirt to the side, and there was two individuals who took my shirt. And I remember they're like, oh, let me look at your shirt. And I'm not gonna mention names, but I'll tell the story. You know, I would give them fake names, but it just wouldn't make any sense for me. I'm not gonna go that far. But these two individuals were messing around, and at first they were like trying to be cool, and then they're like, nah, you know what? Never mind. I'm gonna keep the shirt, and I actually kept the shirt. A part of me wanted to go up there and just punch him right in his shit, but I knew I couldn't do that because I would get in trouble. So I left it alone. And there was a moment where we did almost get in a fight, or we almost got into a little scuff. But again, I walked away from it because I just the situation that I had to deal with in my own mental health, I didn't want to get myself involved. I said, I don't want to be that person that takes it too far, nor I had to go in trouble. Go home and get in trouble anyways. But I remember the night that I had to go back home, and I was sitting in my room, and this happened to be on a Friday night. I remember the kids were downstairs playing the game. I was in my room, and I sat by myself. The light was off. I just sat down and kind of stared out the windows, like a full moon almost. The moon was bright enough. I was in a comfortable mood, but I was also sad as shit and upset, like really mad. During that moment of me sitting there looking out the window, I heard somebody behind me breathing. Like if there was a man behind me breathing. But I looked and there was nothing there, but I could still hear him breathing. And then because I've been through this so many times, I'm like, I don't care anymore. Like I just gave up. Like fuck it. So I said to whatever that was behind me, if you're so big and bad, why don't you do this? Why don't you do something about these two people I don't like? Now, I'm not saying that this was the cause, but it was just a coincidence. And when I said what I said to it, Saturday morning, I had someone knocking on my door, and the person was telling me, hey, did you hear about so-and-so? And when they told me that, my dark side came out because I was so upset with them. And I was like, good, that's what they probably deserved. But I didn't really mean it. I was just so angry. Looking back at it now, it just tell me what I was dealing with. It was really negative stuff. Then as we start to get older, my neighbor, really cool dude, he started telling us more about the house. And he said that people used to go to the house and do seances. Now, in the early times, we didn't have much like the attic renovated. We didn't have much of that done. It was still kind of bare bones, just insulation all laid down. But he said that he would see people doing seances and whatever. And we're like, what? Like, we couldn't like believe it. Well, I remember my mom, she was like a proactive person. Anything she's seen, it needed worked on. Plus the house was cold. All year round, that house was cold. It could have been because it was haunted, or it could have been it just didn't have an insulation. And there was no insulation. If we broke down all the walls and it was all just paper that they used to put, they didn't have insulation. Long story short, we started working on the attic, and we did find some things in the attic. We found like a black candle, some needles, some weird stuff upstairs. We threw this stuff away, didn't think anything of it. I knew my mom was probably like, there had to be something that was going on. We still didn't really think much about that. The room gets fixed and turned into a room, and my little brother ended up taking that room. Well, I remember at this time, I'm laying in my room where that shadow guy was at. And as I'm laying down, I never really fall asleep that early. I stay up pretty much as long as I can till I get like dead tired because I'm scared all the time. Well, I'm hearing from my side of the house where I'm at, I hear heavy footsteps going through the whole attic. And then I hear my mom say, Rudy, come here. I don't even know why she called me. Out of everybody, she called me. And so I get up and I go and I look at her, and she's sitting on her bed. And she says, do you hear that? And as she's telling me, do you hear that? It's happening at like right then and there. It starts happening again. And you hear one end to one end, someone walking slowly as if like they were wearing work boots. just heavy work boots. And they're going right across that room back and forth. And it's loud. So I looked at it and I'm like, Mom, you're not going to go up there and check on my brother, you know? She's like, I'm not going up there. And I'm not sure if she was asking me to go up there, but I almost second guessed going up. But that's my brother. And I was always taught to take care of my brother. So I go upstairs. I remember walking up the stairs and I look and it was dark. I mean, that room was dark as shit. As I walk up into not the living room. So like if you walk up the stairs, it's long enough to where you can have like a living room and a little bed in the area. If you look at it like I don't know, studio. There's a bed, a little living room set. He had like a little couch. My brother had a little nice setup up there, you know, TV. I walk up and I get close to his bed and I felt somebody standing in front of me. But I just could not put my finger on it. And it was so dark, just so dark. And all I remember saying to it was, you better not fuck with my brother. Because I'm here for him. And I'm gonna have God take care of my brother. It got quiet. Nothing happened to me, but just got really quiet. So I'm like, okay, I'm gonna help my brother. So I go downstairs and I grab, I can't remember if it was like a sheet or a blanket. I just grabbed something, and he had a couch. So I grab my stuff, I go upstairs, and scared as shit, I still go up there and I sleep on the couch. I'm laying on the couch. Now, during that time I was sleeping, my brother, I guess, had woke up and I was out, but he was saying that I was sleepwalking. And he seen me walking, staring out the window, just standing there for about like half an hour, just standing there, looking out the window. And then he seen me walk back to the couch and then lay back down and go to sleep. I don't remember none of that. I don't remember at all. So the only thing I remember that night was somebody jumped on me, on my hips. I felt the two heavy knees jump over on the couch, hit me, and then I opened my eyes and I felt hands go down over my neck. It starts choking me. I'm having a hard time breathing. I'm looking up, but I just can't see, like literally nothing. Like there's nothing around me, but I feel something holding me down. The best example I can give you is the person that was holding me down, or whatever that was holding me down, had the strongest hands ever. Really big, strong hands. And it just felt like, I don't know if you, there's some concrete workers, they got real strong hands, they're working on concrete all the time. Like it was just strong. I can't explain it. I'm getting choked, and as that's choking me, I keep on hearing. Now, my family's Hispanic, and I know Spanish. When they're speaking to me, I know Spanish. Like I get it. I could understand that that's Spanish. If it's another culture, I would know it's from another culture, right? But this language that it was speaking to me, it was weird because it was like it was in my head, and it's saying things over and over, and it's saying something. It sounds like Spanish. As I get older, I start realizing it sounds like Latin. But it's going in my head. It's saying something over and over while it's choking me. I got so scared that I thought I was going to die because I couldn't do nothing. Like it was like paralysis. I just could not move. It got to the point where I said, okay, I'm gonna end up dying here because obviously, ain't nobody helped me, so I gotta do something. I literally, as a kid, I've always believed in God. And I literally remember saying, I am child of God, you cannot harm me. I am child of God, you cannot harm me. I am child of God, you cannot harm me. And then, boom, it got off me. I stopped hearing the sounds, the voices. I didn't hear nothing anymore. It all came off me. And that night, I ended up getting out of that room. I didn't sleep so comfortable. And it really traumatically messed me up. My brother had a case up there where he would hear somebody running to the closet and running back to his bed. He's wide awake. And he hears someone running to the closet and running right back to the bed. It was messing with his phone, where it would turn off his phone, turn on his phone, or make his phone act like it was like, you know how like the TV when it's like gray and has a static? It would do the same thing. It always messed with him a lot too. Well, I ended up telling my mom, and we got back to the same thing. It's because you're this and that. She's hearing the footsteps, but she's not quite believing the other stuff. So I left it alone. I didn't want to tell her anymore. I'm like, you know, what's more to tell her? It's going to happen again, and it's going to get the same result. So there's no point to telling her. So nothing really got done. It was an experience, but it's again an experience that we couldn't take care of. We were just kids. So I was getting older, and I kind of asked my mom if I can have the basement. Right now, this is years, so we're moving up now. Like another year or two moved on. Maybe 13 years old, maybe 14 years old, around 14, 13, and now I'm in my basement. And I took the basement, and my mom collected tons of antiques. I don't know what her thing was, but everything in the house, from the couches, from the little saints, little mirrors, pictures, man, she loved collecting antiques. And so I had some stuff that was antique in my room. I had a mirror, a couch. But see, I was into like heavy metal, you know. I also like, you know, rock and roll. So I like to listen to music, and then I'll put on like incense and candles and just relax and chill, clean up my room, just relax. I didn't have a real normal childhood life. So like I wasn't wanting to go play with kids and go smoke weed or, you know, I wanted to mind my own business. I was dealing with my own problems. So I go in my room, and I remember I used to listen to music, and really, I didn't understand what meditation was, but this is kind of when my life completely changed within spiritual stuff, like spirits, understanding spirits. And I had my anger issues. I had my anxiety kick in still. Couldn't control it. And I remember I wanted to just sit down and meditate, but I did not know how to meditate. And we didn't have computers out there and smartphones to just look it up. But I did hear about it. And what I heard about it was about collecting your thoughts, letting them go, and relaxing. So I did that one thing. I would go in my room, I'd sit down, I'd close my eyes, and I'd practice techniques. And I'd breathe in deep, blow out, breathe in deep, blow out like 50 times. And I would try to think as if I'm breathing in good, blowing out negative. Well, something happened to me. After like 50 in and out breathing techniques, I fall asleep. But it didn't feel like I fell asleep. I didn't know I was asleep, but like all I remember was I was so zoned out that I'm looking in my room. I just stand up because I'm like, this is getting boring and I don't want to sit here no longer. So I get up and I look, and where my radio was, I had incense and a candle, and my candle got so far low that it started burning the plastic of the radio. So I went to go hit it, and my hand literally went right through the damn radio, as if I aimed for it, but it just went right through. I look back, and I see myself sitting there on the couch. And I'm like, what the hell? So I run to myself and I just kind of like tap on my body, like, am I real or is this a dream? I hit myself and then I wake up, right? I snapped out of it and I'm looking around, and sure enough, that candle is actually burning the plastic of my radio. And then I hurry up and I took some incense and I started burning more, because I said my mom's gonna kill me because she's smelling burnt plastic. I mean, the fire was literally about this big. So in the basement, there's all wood. It's almost about to touch the wood of the basement. So I'm like, I'm about to burn the house down if I don't stop it. So I hurried and threw it on the floor, stomped on it. There's smoke everywhere. Immediately, my mom starts yelling, "What the hell are you doing downstairs?" So I made up a stupid story saying I was just burning incense. In reality, that's what happened. After that, my life changed. I would go to sleep and I'll see spirits walking in my room. I'd see slaves walking in my room in chains, but they'll come in as if they're gonna be free, but they gotta hide, right? I would see soldiers with old soldier clothes. I'd also see regular human beings, like, but in spirit form, hundreds of them, 50, 70 to 100 people just standing in my room, all asking me questions, saying things, saying how they died, telling me their name. I would hear all these things. It scared the living shit out of me. So I'd throw the blanket over me and I'd pray to God. And I had a very close relationship with God because of the stuff that was happening to me. But God wouldn't stop these things. Like, anytime I prayed, so when I prayed for that other thing to go away, it went away. When I said that, it went away. When I said, God, please take this away, it never took it away. And I didn't understand why. Every night, I'm telling you, every night, I would have spirits all standing around my bed, talking to me, telling me the name. I remember one particular girl would say, what was she saying to me? She would tell me her name. There would be another guy coming and telling me his name. All types of people, black, white, Asian. It was never just one type of people. It was all people. And it seemed like they all wanted to talk to me about something, or about their past, or somebody they knew. But at that time, I didn't know what I was doing. I was just a kid. So I'd pray every night. Well, remind you, I still got PTSD. I don't think my mom nor my family knew how to deal with that. They didn't understand mental health. So if anything, they just probably made it worse by thinking that they can do or say certain things to make it go away. Like, you can't take PTSD and just throw it away. Like, you gotta teach yourself to learn to move on, So those things started to occur, and it was like a normal every day, every night, every day, every night. The little girl would call me still, and I could still hear her. They got people downstairs would always come in my room. And I remember one night, I was angry. I was having another episode. Sad. I was real sad. So I burnt this candle. I got a candle and I burnt the candle and I put it in front of the mirror. And I set it down and I go back to sit down and I'm starting to have an anxiety attack. So I start crying. Like, when I had anxiety attacks, I just start, like, an uncontrollable cry. You start crying and you're trying to, like, catch your breath and everything. And it always happened because I was thinking about my mom and dad or some, whatever. Because I didn't have my mom and dad, my real biological mom and dad. Well, the story that many people don't know, I challenged something when I was in my room. And I remember getting upset and I spoke to the devil. And people were like, how can you speak to the devil? Right? I did probably the most dumbest thing you could possibly think of. I remember taking like fluid of like not lighter fluid, but like I don't know where the hell I got this. I found some fluid that catches on fire. Don't ask me where I found it, but I found it. And I made the pentacle, the star, the upside down star. I don't know what it's called exactly, but I made that, and I asked the devil, prove to me that you're real. That was probably the dumbest, stupid thing I could have ever done. Because after that, my life got worse. So nothing happened. I cleaned everything up. I knew something bad was gonna happen, but I didn't really quite understand where and what. I blew the candle out and I go to bed. The next day, I go upstairs, minding my own business, doing my own thing, eating food, whatever. And I just wanted to go in my room and relax. So I'm walking down the stairs. I get about halfway down the stairs. And I'm telling you, the minute I get to the bottom of the stairs, all my lights are on because they're all like, there's a switch upstairs, but every light individually has a pulley to turn them off. But when I turn it on, I want them all on. So when I'm going down there, as I hit the last stair, I hear a woman. Now, remind you, nobody else hears this. As I hit that last stair, I hear somebody scream so loud as if they're getting killed or they're screaming for their life. All the bulbs, every freaking bulb broke. I ran upstairs. So fast. And I remember I didn't want to go down there that night. I slept in the living room. Thank God it was a weekend. I stayed up all weekend. I kept on sleeping upstairs in the living room. Then when it came to the week, I would go down there and grab some clothes and run back upstairs. I didn't even change the bulbs yet. And I still slept upstairs until my mom noticed. And my mom was like, what the hell are you up here for still? Like, why you keep on not going in your room? And I explained it to her. And what do you think she said? It's that stupid music you're listening to. So I was like, damn. So she's like, you better go back in your room. She didn't want the living room being dirty anyways. So I go in my room, and I remember I had to put new bulbs. So I was able to take out the old bulb. I just took like a cloth and then took the broken glass out with the aluminum. And then I put a new bulb. Everything seemed cool. I was like, hell yeah, I'm not going to have any issues. Nope. Give it around 11 or 12. I had a futon as a bed. My futon started shaking. Like just shaking violently. And I don't get it. Because this shit is so loud to me, but nobody in the house can hear it. How does that make any sense? It starts shaking. I hear somebody every night. Didn't matter what. Every night I'll go to my room, lay down, and I hear this man, heavy breathing, walking up to my bed, shakes my bed, and if he doesn't shake my bed, he's just standing there breathing. I can hear him, and I'll throw my blanket over me because I was too scared and I didn't want to see who it was. And I pray. I cried and I prayed every night, praying that this goes away. Well, that was the starting of everything. All of a sudden, out of nowhere, things start to happen upstairs now. So I don't know if at the time when I was like that, at that age, I was like into like the magicians. There was like David Blaine and Chris Angel, Mind Freak, and all that kind of stuff. Like I like watching that, but I also like the fact that like magicians are really tricksters. They're really good at that stuff. So I'd watch it and I'll do push-ups, and I'll watch it in a commercial. I do push-ups, and that was my thing. Like it helped me it helped me feel comfortable. So I did push-ups, and that night, I think it was around like 10, because around like 10ish it will start and then end around like 12. So as I'm watching it, all of a sudden the living room, no, everybody, my mom's upstairs, brothers are chilling in the room playing the game. The lights start flickering off and on, flickering off and on. And that was already normal. Like I got comfortable dealing with it with downstairs. So I kind of had some, like, I don't want to say confidence, but I felt like, hey, I can deal with it now. It's just I gotta let it happen. I was just immature. I was too young. So the lights start flickering in the living room. And I remember saying, look I get it. You want to mess with me right now. Let this show end and then mess with me later. But let me finish this show. I shit you not, everything will stop. I'll go through the show. It ends. I go downstairs. Boom, like clockwork. Again, there's somebody walking in my room. I hear somebody breathing. They try to shake my bed, maybe shake the blanket, try to pull my blanket. It scared the living shit out of me, let me tell you. All right, well, there was an incident when we would go upstairs, and now this is when it started affecting everybody in the house, because now it's starting to expand. And we would go use the bathroom, and our house was like, so it was added on, right? There was like pieces added on as the years went by. The new owner bought it, they added a back piece upstairs, they had a back room, this and that. So our bathroom had a storage room. It was weird. So when I was in the bathroom, you know, TMI, I was just using the bathroom. I'm not gonna get in detail, but as I'm sitting there, the doorknob starts to shake violently, like violently, and it scared the living crap out of me. And then, like, if I'm taking a bath and I'm taking a bath and I'm cleaning up, because I like taking a bath. I was clean my body up and everything. It starts shaking again. And what are you supposed to do? Like, you're in a vulnerable moment. You're in a vulnerable state where you just can't get up and run. You almost had to deal with it. There was one time where it shook so hard that door opened. Oh man, I was scared. I was so scared. So the girl started going through this. My brother started going through this. And eventually it got normal. Nobody wanted to really bring up stuff, and everybody was kind of going through something on their own. Well, I went in that room one night because I had to use the bathroom. But I remember going in that room and I said, what do you want? And I don't know why I do it, and I say the stupid stuff that I say, but I said, show me what you went through. And all I felt was my neck get very tight, and I don't know if you hung upside down, but my head felt like it was about to pop. My eyes got really, really heavy, like bloodshot. And then I started bleeding. I didn't know what that meant. I got the hell out of there. I booted out, got out. Well, the activity got so crazy in the house that my mom had to hire a medium to come in. Now, I remember this lady and a gentleman coming in the house to do a cleaning. And I particularly remember her saying a few things. One of them, she says, do you know that this used to be a funeral home? We never knew that. Then she said, you have many spirits in this house, which I think what came from that would be that my mom was an antique collector, right? And a bunch of other stuff too. Like, with the history of the house. And then the last thing she says was, who sleeps in the basement? And they're like, my son. She said, my son. And she's like, well, this is all happening because of him. He's a medium. He has a gift. And that's, I didn't understand what she said. I just took it as I fucked up. Like, I did something bad. So I'm in trouble. I just took it as that. I just took it as if I got in trouble. And I was worried because I thought my mom was gonna be mad at me. But I had no control over all this stuff. Well, this lady went through that whole house and cleaned it. I'm not shitting you. She had everything. It took her a very long time because I remember she didn't leave till very, very late. And she said, she kept on saying that somebody in the backyard, there's a tree. She says, somebody got hung in your tree. This is back in the slave days. She says, somebody got hung in your tree, and the reason why you're having issues in the bathroom is because that person is actually within that area, and they're messing with y'all. And it's funny because when I was in that bathroom, that's where I had that experience where I was feeling like my head was gonna pop, and I started bleeding. And it makes sense now when I think about it. So eventually this lady goes through the house, she cleans it, and she said that this was the worst house she's ever dealt with in her lifetime, being a paranormal investigator and cleaner. And I heard she got really sick because whatever that was there was messing with her as well. So she got really sick from this. And after that, things got better. Things got normal for us. The only thing that we deal with, even still till now, if you were to buy that house right now, you will always have a little girl either calling your name, or you'll see her on the side of your eyes. Like, you'll see her. She will never leave. And that medium lady told us, like, she just loves living in that house and she don't want to leave. That's it. And to finish up with my last story with this house, what's very intriguing about this young lady, this little girl, is I once later down the road, my mom moves away from this house and she gives it to my sister. And I, at the time, needed help. So my sister says, you can come stay for a little bit till you get your things together. And I'm like, okay, perfect. And I remember one particular moment, I forgot to plug my alarm clock. And I'm laying down. No, I didn't know I forgot to plug it. I thought I did it. I just was tired. I lay down and it was time to get up for work. But I was hearing my alarm go off, but it sounded like as if the batteries are really just dead. So I looked on the side, and I noticed that I seen 0000, like no numbers, and it's like flipping weird. So I didn't see nothing. I'm like, what the hell? Is there something wrong with it? So I go to look in the back. It's not plugged. It's still on when I'm looking at it, and it's not plugged. And so it didn't scare me much, but it made me feel like that girl was trying to wake me up, so she knew I had to go to work. And I thought that was a nice thing. I ended up leaving that house later. This is one of my stories, and I have many more. But yeah, that was pretty intense. And I have more stories I'll tell you. But for now, this was the beginning of many stories to come. Hey everybody, I see that you made it this far. If you can, please like, comment, share, and hit the notification bell to see any future videos coming out. Thank you.